Hi, this is Elliot Haspel and welcome to another edition of Best Practices Weekly. Today we're going to be talking about improving reading rates for struggling readers. And this comes from an article in the Journal of Educational Psychology in which University of California and Riverside researchers talk about ways that we can maximize the speed at which students improve their reading rate. And the researchers asked two main questions in their study. First, does the difficulty of the text that students are reading actually influence the speed at which they improve their fluency? And second, when it comes to struggling readers, what parts of reading are actually improved when they're reading independently? And the study focused on struggling readers in 2nd and 4th grade, and the researchers separated them into 3 different groups. One group was students who were reading in independent text, so a text that they could read 92 to 100% of it on their own accurately. And they were reading it out loud to an adult who could provide some feedback and help them through tough words. A second group were students who were reading instructional level texts which you could read about 80 to 90% of them accurately on their own. And again, reading out loud with an adult. And a third was just reading independently on their own, no adult. And they were doing this 15 minutes a day, 3 days a week for 20 weeks. And here's what they found. To the first question, the difficulty of the text actually doesn't seem to have an influence on students increasing their reading rates. So both the students who were reading independent level text and instructional level texts increased at almost the exact same rate. Second, reading out loud to an adult does make a big difference. Those students in that condition significantly outperform students who were not reading out loud to an adult. And the adult was not trained particularly extensively. The adult was simply helping the student through difficult words, providing feedback about things like that. And the rate was an increase of 1.4 words per week for students who were reading out loud to an adult, which is pretty much what a normal on-track reader does. And then only plus 0.06 words per week for students in the control condition, which is significantly below what a normal reader should be expected to grow. And the fact is the bulk of the gains actually happen in weeks 10 through 20, which is interesting because what the author suggests is that a lot of teachers might abandon a reading intervention after the first few weeks if they're not seeing early results, but actually sticking with it and the extent and consistency of practice tends to show its results later on when you see students sort of rise very quickly at the end in terms of their increase of fluency. And on to the second question, what they found was that the reading rate, the speed at which students read, and their word recognition skills, so being able to see a word by sight and then know that word again later on in a passage, were definitely helped by reading with an adult. And this seemed to be the way that they were increasing significantly more again than students who were just reading on their own. However, interestingly, and to the surprise of the authors, decoding skills and vocabulary skills actually did not improve by reading out loud with an adult and getting that kind of a feedback. And what the authors suggest here is that students who are poor readers actually still need explicit instruction in decoding skills and in word part instruction, and they also need continued robust holistic instruction around vocabulary. But the implications here are actually that students who are struggling readers, if we just send them off to read their own text, even if it's whether it's easy or whether it's difficult, you're not going to see very many gains. Students who are struggling readers seem to really need the support of an adult, or the author suggests it doesn't necessarily have to be an adult. It could also be a student who's a higher performing student, but someone who can provide them feedback as they're reading and someone who can help them through difficult words seems to be a necessary component to significantly increasing students' reading rate. And the other interesting thing that the authors found was that the fluency for struggling readers has a huge influence on students' reading comprehension skills. That's true across the board, but this research and other research seems to suggest that for struggling readers, fluency is the key. And they actually found that more than 80% of the struggling readers in this study, more than 80% of their reading comprehension gains could actually be accounted for by their fluency increases. So almost the entirety of their ability to comprehend text better, especially in longer passages, went right along with their ability to be more fluent, to read faster. So, in conclusion, the authors note that there's a lot more that could be done here, especially when you think about different ways to provide support to struggling readers. But fluency is absolutely key for struggling readers, and doing, regardless of the difficulty of the text, providing those readers with support is apparently a key component to making sure that they're increasing their reading rate as fast as possible and getting up to speed. Thanks for watching, happy teaching, and we'll talk again soon.